What I have here today is this is kind of like a side project on my 2004/5 Dodge Dakota quad cab pickup truck. I am a filthy, disgusting smoker who can't seem to kick my habit, so one of the side effects of that, along with a chronic cough and probably high blood pressure, is I wear out the window regulators in my truck often. These are not the old style metal crank up ones. This is a power window. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the window down here. It's not doing it now. Well, the window regulator works. I just recently replaced the regulator and the motor. Everything works just fine. Going up and down. The problem is when I put the window regulator in, I apparently didn't tighten one of the bolts that hold the window regulator in, the regulator and motor assembly in tightly enough. So what's happening is when I run the window down, it makes this horrible clunking noise. Usually with the door shut. It's a little interesting that it's not doing it right now, but it doesn't matter because I know what's wrong with it. And it's been driving me crazy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the door panel off. Show how to take the door panel off and tighten that bolt up, put it back in. I'm not actually going to change the window regulator. This is more of just how to get the door panel off. So, and show the loose bolt. Now, I have a series of tools here. Now, I've mentioned this ad nauseum, but I'm going to mention it again. I did this for a living. So I have some specialized tools for this project. And they're not really super special. I have an interior tool. Okay, this is a Snap-on, came as a kit. I paid too much for it. You could buy something very similar from Harbor Freight. We're not actually going to use this to take the interior panel off with. It's just to take off something else, but I'll show that in a second. It's actually we're going to use it to pry on this. These are nice for prying because they have a real wide lip. This one's not super thin. I have another one that's shaved down, almost paper thin, but that's not the one I need. My handy dandy Snap-on ratcheting screwdriver with a Phillips bit, a 10mm socket, and my favorite fine tooth ratchet, and this tool. Now this is a specific tool, and I'm not sure. Let's see if I can get it up on video here. This used to be a Snap-on pick that I had broke years ago and didn't actually get the pick replaced. But what I did was I made this little fitting here. I made this end. This end is specifically made to remove the clips and plugs that I have to remove later on in this project. You don't need this. You can use a little straight bladed screwdriver, the freebies that you get from Snap-on with the little magnet in the back, or just a straight bladed screwdriver. You can do that. This is specifically made for this process because it's got a little lip on it, a little hooky thing there. So that's one of the things when I die it'll get thrown away because nobody knows what it's for. So to get this door panel off, I'm going to shut the ignition off so I don't kill the battery. There's a series of Phillips head screws in this door panel. So they come off relatively easy. They comes out relatively easy. You don't need any special tools. You don't need any Torxes. It's just Phillips. Now, I will caveat that with I may have swapped out Torx screws. I don't remember. I've done 100 of these, and anytime I ever did them and I came across them, I would swap out a Torx head screw for a Phillips head screw. Just because if I replaced one window regulator on a regular customer's car, the chances of me having to replace another one is pretty good, just because that's just the nature of the window regulators. And it was always for the same people. They run their windows up and down a lot. I don't ever blame the customer for stuff like that, but it's definitely, if one goes bad, they're going to go bad perpetually. So the first one I always undo is this one up here. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. This one is a specific one for the length here. If you put one in that's too long, it'll hit the window. Or worse, go out the back side. There's one here, a large one. Kind of can't screw that one up. Now, my handy dandy fancy little custom made clip tool. It's going to get used right here. You can use it, like I said, you can use a straight bladed screwdriver, but I didn't ever really like to use one. You cause a lot of damage with them. That one is specifically rounded off. There's another Phillips one here. You got to pull the door handle back. This is also a fairly large screw. Can't screw that one up, no pun intended. Now on the bottom side here, there's two recessed under the panel. One there, one in the front. Now, the downside of this is that you can't remove this door panel with the door shut. So if you have a broken door handle, or if you have some kind of internal thing that's busted on this door that won't allow the door to open, you'll have to Slim Jim the door to get it to open. But I'm not going to do that. That's not what this job's about. This is your window switch and mirror control. These come up pretty easily. There's not a whole lot holding them in, but you need to be very careful because the clips break. They break a lot. I've had a lot of them bust, and I'll show it when I take it off here. I'm gonna zoom the camera in to show how to properly unplug these. I've had this one out so often I should put Velcro on it. There's a little button right here that you press in, and you just pull this out like that. You push that, you pull it out, the switch comes apart. Now, these break. Okay, so if you noticed when I took this off, I started at the back because I knew these are here. If you pry at the front, you'll snap those off, and then you're gonna get stuck buying one of these because no matter what kind of glue you use, you can't get these to glue back on. On the police cars and on a couple other Dodges, I actually just put a screw in the front here that would just catch this lip. It was a little ugly, but the customer didn't want to pay the money to get this replaced. So, you know, oh well, you're gonna have to live with a screw. Now, the door panel is actually loose. To remove the door panel, all you have to do is lift up, and the door panel pops off. There's no prying, nothing. It's very simple. Now, the one little tricky part of this is these door, roll the window down. Maybe I'll be able to stick the camera in there. Now, inside of this door panel, and hopefully I can do it without blocking it with my fat head, are these clips here. Okay, there's two clips that hold the lock mechanism and the door switch or door handle in place. They just pry that way and lift up. Yeah, it's right there. Good, you can see it. Pry this way and then lift up. Helps to let the door down a little, the panel down a little bit, and then off comes the door handle. So this is your lock mechanism. This is the door handle itself, and then I want to move the camera around to show exactly what I'm doing here. Don't ever lean the door panel against the vehicle because you'll scratch the car. But I don't give a shit because it's my truck. If that was a customer car, that would be a great faux pas to do what I just did there. Alright, now I'm very carefully going to peel this back. I've seen it 100 times. I've seen guys tear the shit out of this and destroy it. You absolutely, positively do not want to damage this material if you can at all avoid it. This is just sticky stuff. It's gross. It does stick on everything, and it's nasty. But if you take this off and you throw this away, you create another problem, which is air leaks and water leaks inside the vehicle into the interior door panel, and that causes problems. I'm sorry. It's just stupid to damage this. I know people that have routinely used to damage these things, and it would drive me insane. So what we got going on here is one of these bolts is loose. I'm hoping. Otherwise I'm going to look like a fool. But I'm pretty sure one of them is loose. Hopefully it's not the one that's attached to the window itself. Oh, I found it. It's this one. Okay. So, I'm going to take this off. Now, like I said, this noise has been intermittent, but I knew it was there, and it's been driving me a little crazy. When these window regulators come from the factory, usually it'll have one or two bolts already pre-installed, so you put it in this slot here. This one's loose. And it's been making noise. Little rat bastards, they switch these out. These are 8s. They should be 10s. So I'm gonna make sure that's tight while we're in here. You don't want to strip them, but you want to make sure they're tight. Because if they're not tight, the window regulator will move. It just slipped off. There we go. The window regulator will move inside the door and make noise, and it will cause the window regulator to fail prematurely. Be very careful tightening these up because they go into the glass. There we go. While I'm at it, I'm going to run the window up and I'm going to check to make sure that the window tracks themselves are tight, because that's another thing that loosens up on these, and it'll create a rattle inside the door, which is maddening. Especially if you're driving down the road, you got the window up, you're trying to listen to the radio or listen to somebody talk, and you'll have a rattling. That's tight. No, that one's a little loose. There's the bolt for that one. Kind of hiding behind this plastic, which we're trying desperately not to damage. It's tight. Now, over time, sometimes you'll get this will fail. These will crack, or the window track itself, which is inside the door here, the weld will fail. I got into a lot of those, usually on work trucks where guys were, once again, running the windows up constantly. It's not the fault of the driver, it's not the fault of the manufacturer, it's just the nature of things, they wear out. So that's it. I just wanted to tighten that one screw up there. Now I'm confident that it's tight. The window should stop making noise, even though it wasn't just making noise. This is your mirror plug. And this is actually the plug for the motor, the window motor itself. When you go to put this back on, you want to kind of make sure that you put it back on in a very similar manner into which it was removed. Carefully sticking it back on. You want to make sure that you route the control rods properly through the door. Make sure you push those little dooflickies into the holes there. It makes putting the door panel back on a lot easier. Make sure that all your screw heads are exposed. This is a pretty simple job. The next time I wear out the window regulator, I'll do a whole window regulator on this truck, because it's pretty simple. It takes me about 10 minutes to do one now. I've put probably 4 or 5 in. And this is a 2004. The last one I put in, this was another mistake on my part, was I bought a really cheap, it was like $15. I replaced it with a Dodge part. they just seem to last a lot longer. They're not overly expensive. I think they're less than $50, but it's still its principle. They shouldn't wear out, but they work better than the old style. The old ones used to get flat spots. Yeah, you see that door panel laying there? That'd get you yelled at by me. I would yell at you for it. As a matter of fact, there's a scratch in the door from when I did it the last time. So, let's see here. Line these up. Whenever you're fiddling with door panels, actually, whenever you're fiddling with anything automotive-wise, anything, doesn't even matter if it's automotive or not. If you have to force it back together after it came apart relatively easily, chances are you're putting it back together wrong. These door panels that come on and off this way are they were great. So I reconnected the the levers for the door lock and the door handle. This lip actually comes off, but that has to stay on for what we're doing here. You want to make sure when you take the door panel off, you don't pull this off with it. It happens. You take it, then you take it off the door panel and put it back on here. If you try to do it the other way, it won't work very well. Now, there's little slots here. There's little tabs on the inside of the door that go in these holes. You lift the door panel up within reason because it is attached. You push the top of the door panel in. Make sure you've got everything into the little slots, which right now it's not. It's very simple. You do the front first, set the back, and now when I put the door plastic back on, I kind of interfered with the slots a little bit, so it didn't want to go on the way it should have. Give it just the slightest bit of a tap to make sure that you put it in, it goes all the way down into the slots. If you do that, the door will, the holes will line right back up with no problem. Make sure you don't do what I just did, which is jam the wires into the center slot. That's why I didn't want to go in. This wire was caught underneath this center pin here. There's a lot of door panels that come off this way. The early Ford, or not even early Fords, the mid-2000s, mid-90s Ford Tauruses, police cars, a lot of them. Chevy, in their infinite wisdom, had a better idea, which used clips, hard plastic clips inside of soft plastic clips, which really made getting the door panel off very problematic. They were actually a bit of a nightmare, because what would happen is inevitably you'd break those clips, and it would be a real pain in the ass. I used to keep those clips in stock. What would happen also is the door panel itself would break, and then you get into a whole nother list of crap that you have to repair. Door panels are very expensive. That's a short one that goes in the bottom here. A short rusty one that goes in the bottom. And the long one here that goes in the top. I don't recommend using power tools to put these back in with. You can use a cordless screwdriver, one that looks like a screwdriver that's kind of limp. If you use an impact gun, there's plastic inserts in here that you can spin out. Voice of experience. Put the door switch back together. Stick the front in first. Carefully set the back into position. Give it a little tug and a little tap. And in it goes. Piece of cake, easy peasy. Now, I highly suggest testing the door before you shut it. To test the door without actually operating the door, you want to trip the door latch. Use a screwdriver, don't use your interior tool. In this case, I'm using my fancy pants clip remover. In. Okay, so the door now is latched. If you go to slam the door will be latched. It'll hit the striker and make an awful noise. Door won't latch because the door is latched. Do not do that. There is plastic on this, the door latch to keep it from rattling. If you do what I just did, you can damage the plastic. I didn't hit it hard. It was to show how it works. Pull up on the door handle, it should unlatch, unless the door is locked. Slide the lock switch to and fro. Door's unlocked. Unlocked by manual. Unlocked with power. A lot of times when you take door panels off, you can get those rods jammed up inside the door, and you might be able to unlock it by hand, but the powered lock won't work anymore. It's not as common on Dodges as it is on Chevys. The Chevy, the late 80s, or I'm sorry, mid to late 90s, all the way up until Chevy changed their door panels. It was very common to swap those two because they would easily swap because of the way they were attached inside the door. It was very easy to mix them up. The other thing is the Chevys ran through the plastic insulator and would get jammed on the plastic insulator if you didn't put the door panel on right, but this is a Dodge, so it doesn't matter. So, door latch. Now, my door latch is getting old, so it doesn't spring. It should actually, when you pull the door lock, it should spring open, and I could probably should spray a little bit of lubricant in there, which I'm not going to right now. So door lock, windows open, shut the door. Door's working good. Run the window up and down. Door should run smoothly. Now it's making the noise. Oh, something else is loose. Oh well, that's all I'm doing today. The noise that it's making is indicative of the window regulator failing. If it's not loose. Oh well. And that was a waste of time then. I thought it was a loose bolt. Well, one way or the other, you saw how to take the door panel off. Easy peasy. I think of I've taken a lot of door panels off in my day. These Dodge door panels are pretty easy. These trucks are very easy to Slim Jim also if you ever lock yourself out. Alright. Well, I hope you learned something other than that wasn't the way to fix my noisy door. But you did see how to take the door panel off and test everything.